Welcome back, everybody. So I've spent the last couple months trying to figure out what kind of vehicle I want to do the type of van life that I want, and in doing so I've realized that a ton of people are trying to figure out the same thing. So I've actually got mine figured out, and I've got the notes to prove it. This is probably going to be a longer video, so I want to go over how I figured out what type of vehicle I want to have for van life. And, you know, I lived in the Astro for, what, 3 or 4 years? I don't even remember anymore. 3 or 4 years full time, and then I was in an express van, and then an express van with a high top and a cargo trailer, and then a travel trailer. So I've got a lot of experience. I've talked to hundreds of people who live, you know, in different vehicles, and learned a lot. So I wanted to share what I know and hopefully help some other people out. So the basics is to get really clear on what you want. Figure out what type of lifestyle you want, how are you going to work, and what kind of things do you need to do that. That's kind of number one. So I figured out first what I want. I came up with kind of a rough plan of how I want my life to look like. You know, when you switch from doing the 9-to-5 thing to living in a van or whatever vehicle and traveling around, it's an opportunity to completely like redesign your life and kind of take with you what's worked and leave behind what hasn't, and really create your own dream life. So it's kind of a really cool opportunity to do that. So let's get into it. So for me, I'm just going to go over my whole plan, and I'm going to share as much information and experience as I can to help you guys out. Like I said, this is going to be a long video, so maybe, you know, this is a good chance to put this on in the background while you're doing something. So my plan is I want to work seasonally. You know, I've spent the last year trying to make YouTube videos to get my YouTube channel back to the point where it's making enough money for me to travel full time. It didn't happen. It's a weird catch-22 where I have to already be traveling full time so I can pump out videos, but I don't have enough money to do that, so I can't. And it's this weird, like, I just need to have a bunch of money to already be doing that and then make videos. So keep that in mind. Don't expect to make money right away. Some people get really lucky or are just really good at it naturally. Other people aren't so much. So I want to work seasonally. I want to work seasonal jobs, you know, 2-3 months at a time, then take a few months off, travel, and go to like dispersed camping areas and way out in nature and explore, be out in nature, you know. So that's my idea. And I want to be able to boondock for 14 days at a time. Most public lands, it's free to camp there, but you can only stay up to 14 days. With the 4Runner, I'm maxed out at like 5. I mean, maybe I could get another cargo container on the roof and store a bunch of food and water and stuff, but that's kind of my limit, is really just a few days with this vehicle. So I need something bigger. My long-term goal is to save up and buy some land somewhere. I want to be able to play guitar. I want to be able to have and ride a dirt bike. I go to all kinds of awesome places where riding a dirt bike would just be killer, and I want to be able to do that. And I also don't want to have it on the outside. I tried that in a van, and I woke up one night to someone trying to steal it, and every time I went, you know, hiking or something, it was always in the back of my mind of how easy it would be for someone to steal my bike, and it's just out in the weather all the time, so that's not cool. I want to be able to make YouTube videos and you know, have a comfortable place to edit videos and stuff. It doesn't really work in here. I mean, I do it, but it's not exactly comfortable. And I want to be part of a community and meet people and make friends out on the road. And working seasonally is a really good way to do that, meet like-minded people, and so is dispersed camping. Certain areas, there's a lot of van lifers out there, and you can get to know people pretty well. I'm going to crank down this exposure a little bit. There we go. Okay. And another one is I am a guitar tech by trade. I fix guitars, and if I had a place where I could store my tools and have a little workbench, you know, I could go to like van life gatherings and stuff and fix people's guitars for them, and that would be cool. And I could also do that in towns. You know, I could put up Facebook ads in whatever town I'm going to be in for a little while and find clients that way. And I just need a space to do it. That's been the hard part about, you know, being stationary where I was in Portland area. Rent's just too expensive, and it's too hard to find a place where I can do that. So now that I've got a rough plan and an idea of what I want my life to look like, and this involved a lot of research. I did a lot of research on, people who work seasonally, what kind of jobs are available, how realistic is it for me to do this type of lifestyle, and it's totally realistic, by the way. What kind of things do I need, what's going to make that situation more comfortable for me, and all that research led to kind of developing this rough plan of what I want my life to look like. So it's going to take a ton of research, especially if you're coming from just 9 to 5 normal life. So next, I wrote a list of what I need to have to be able to make this plan work and what I'd like to have to make it, nicer. So I'll go over that with you real quick. My need to have list is I got to get better than 10 miles per gallon. Gas is so expensive now. It sounds like it might be going down, but still, the less I spend on gas, the better. That's one of my biggest expenses. Next is I need to be fully self-contained. Probably 3/4 of the jobs that I am interested in, seasonal jobs, require you to have a fully self-contained vehicle. My last seasonal job was up in Alaska, working on a boat. Obviously, that didn't require it. I flew up there. But then I was talking to some people that were going to do the beet harvest after that, and all the jobs that I was applying for required being fully self-contained. And some people do it living in cars, I guess, but God, it would suck. That doesn't sound fun to me at all. I'd much rather have be self-contained, have a toilet, have running water, have, a shower, all that stuff, and a heater, air conditioning, stuff like that. And be able to have RV hookups. A lot of the other jobs I'm looking at are at RV parks and campgrounds, and being able to hook up to the water and hook up, my gray tank. I don't want a black tank, but having a gray tank that I can hook up would be super, super nice. I also want to be able to haul a dirt bike securely. I talked about that a little bit already. Having it inside would be is pretty darn important to me. I want to be able to drive on forest roads and desert roads, and that means high clearance. Doesn't necessarily mean I need 4-wheel drive, but that would be really handy. There's things you can do, get good tires, get a locker in the back, have good recovery gear. You can go a long ways with a full-size van. Whether that's just a plain van or a Class B or, even an ambulance or a box truck or something. You can go pretty far with just doing some basic things. You don't have to have 4-wheel drive, but it is really nice. And it opens up possibilities to go on trails and stuff, which I love. And in driving in the sand dunes. I'm out on the beach right now. It's cool. So being able to play guitar sitting down and standing up comfortably, I tried that in the vans. I had 2 guitars with me in the Astro the whole time. I played them once. I tried to play at a park, and it was just too weird. I just didn't feel comfortable. I couldn't let go and just really get into it. And even in the van I had with a high top, because the van is so narrow, I couldn't turn, and I want to get into it and really thrash around and stuff, and I couldn't do it. I need a bigger space to be able to play guitar. I want to be able to carry the supplies to stay off-grid for 14 days at a time, as I talked about earlier. That's a little tough to do in a 4Runner. It is possible, but difficult. It's got to be reliable, easy to fix, and easy to get parts for. That takes the Delicas and the Japanese Toyota vans, stuff like that. Just not for me. It's too hard to get parts for them. They are easy enough to fix and reliable enough if you leave out the VW, but parts are just a nightmare. I don't want to deal with that. It's got to be stealthy, and there's 3 different ways. There's 3 different people I don't want to know that I am living in my vehicle and have all my stuff in here. One is Karens. When I park in neighborhoods and concerned citizens or whatever, they call the cops. Oh, there's some new strange vehicle, and then the cops come and harass you at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not fun. It's not cool. I want to avoid that. The next one is police just roaming around and doing whatever they do. They're a little harder to avoid. They know that people live in their vehicles. They know what that looks like. If you've got a solar panel and roof vent on the roof, they just know. But they don't really bother me. If you have a clean, decent looking vehicle and there's not trash everywhere, it doesn't look like you're on drugs, in my experience, they just leave you alone. Unless you're in San Diego. And the other one is criminals, people who want to steal your stuff. If it's obvious that you're living in a vehicle, most people have a laptop and a phone and tools and things that people would like to steal. So if I can hide all of that and not bring any attention to my vehicle at all, that is very important. So that's my theory on stealth. Next thing is I want to secure my stuff. I've seen a lot of situations where people are at, you know, like trailheads to go hiking, or you know, in town, and they get their stuff stolen. That happened to Roaming Reckless, what, like 6 months ago or something. She had like $10,000 worth of stuff stolen out of her rig, and I want to be able to lock my stuff down and keep it secure, so even if someone does break a window, they're not going to get my most expensive stuff. They're just going to get some sacrificial things. Another one is heat and AC. I don't want the weather to dictate where I can work and where I can go. If it's going to be, you know, I don't like being super cold and I don't like being super hot. So if it's going to be like 90 and above, I want AC. If it's going to be like 40 and below, I want a heater, especially at night. I also want my own toilet. Public toilets are the bane of my existence. They're so disgusting, and I just am not a fan. I want my own toilet. That's what I want. And I want a hot shower. Whether that's an inside shower or an outside shower, I don't care, preferably both, but I gotta have my own shower. So those needs are gonna be different for everybody, so you've gotta figure out what you really need to be comfortable. And if you're brand new to this, a really good way to find out, if you've never lived in a vehicle, is to go take whatever vehicle you have, you know, live in it for a month. Even if you're still working full-time, just live in it for a month. Figure out what you really need. Some people are totally comfortable living in a Prius with hardly anything. I'm not. I need some more stuff. I'm a little too high maintenance for a Prius. And then the want to have, stuff I want to have. I want to have a garage area, you know, like I said, where I can work on dirt bikes, work on guitars, work on projects, build stuff, fix stuff, stuff like that. I want to have a fireplace inside. I want to be able to burn wood. I just think that that would be so cool to have a little mini fireplace. Definitely not necessary, but it would be really cool. Even if I only use it sometimes. I still want a diesel heater. I want real coffee. I've been using instant coffee. I guess I could do pour over, but I want real coffee, man. I'm ready for that. I want to be able to stand up and stretch and move around a little bit and easily put on clothes and take off clothes and stuff like that. A little tough to do in here, but I've got a whole world out there for now. Another one that I'd like is a microwave. It's so convenient to just flick, you know, put your food in there and heat it up. It's just really nice. And a freezer, being able to store frozen food, ice cream, dude, hash browns, man, pot stickers, all kinds of delicious food that I miss not having a freezer. I want to have little to no debt. I don't think that's possible. Not for me right now. I'm not going to go into that, but as little as possible. I don't want to take out a $100,000 loan on whatever type of vehicle. That's pretty much where I'm going with that. I'd like to have a compost toilet with a urine diverter that's hooked up to the gray tank so I can just dump that. I do not want a black tank. I've done that. I don't like it. I want it to feel homely. I lived in a travel trailer, and it always felt like I was at a friend's house or something, or I was staying, and it never felt like mine. And I think part of that is because it was just already done, and I didn't put my blood, sweat, and tears into it, and it just never felt like home, you know? It was also super poorly made. All travel trailers are lemons. Every single RV is a lemon as far as I'm concerned, unless you get some super fancy, really nice one. So yeah, I want it to feel homely. I want it to feel like my home. I want to be able to carry enough tools to build things and help people. I want to go to these all these Vanlife events and help people work on their vehicles and fix their guitars. And I also want to build my own stuff. You know, eventually I want land, so I want to be able to have enough tools to get started and build a shed or whatever. And I want to be, I think I already talked about this, but part of a community. That's a need. That's got to be a need, right? Well, that should be on the needs list. I need to be part of a community. I need to make friends and meet people and do that. And I want this vehicle to be something that I am proud of, that I am proud to show people how cool this is, not something that I'm trying to hide. You know, like my Astro, I always felt like I had to kind of hide, you know, oh, I'm a homeless guy or whatever. Like, I don't know, I had some complex about that. I want something I can be proud of. Also, it'd be really nice to have a washer and dryer, or, you know, it doesn't have to be a washer and dryer. It could be one of those little mini 12-volt RV washer-dryer combos or something. So there's that. let's get on to the why work seasonally, because the more we define this vision and hone this vision and we can see it in front of us, we can imagine exactly what it's going to be like, the better, the more likely it is to take place. So why work seasonally? This is before was the what, this is the why, and the next is going to be the how. So the why work seasonally. For me, I need variety. After like probably 8 months to a year of working any job, I get burnt out. I get bored with it. I learn everything I have to learn, and now I end up getting focused on the things I can't control, and that leads to resentment and burnout, and I'm just bored and I'm ready for something new. So working a normal, life as people told us in the 90s we were supposed to live, just pick a job or pick a career and then white picket fence and house and kids, it's not going to work for me. I also want to meet like-minded people and build the community. There we go again. That one's going to come up a lot. I want to maximize my free times to do things I really enjoy. I can, in the Portland area where I'm at and where I'm from and been and everything, in order for me to afford a studio apartment, I've got to work at least 60 hours a week. I don't have a degree. I job hop because that's the way my brain works, and there's no job I can get full-time job where I can afford an apartment. So I'm gonna have to work 60 hours a week. I'm gonna have no free time. All of my time is spent working so I can have a place to collapse at the end of the night and fall asleep and then wake up and do it again. And that is not living to me at all. I do not want to do that. I want as much free time as possible. And the work that I do, I want to enjoy somewhat. If the work sucks a little bit, that's okay. But I want to be, feel like I'm treated with respect and going somewhere in life, and it's getting me closer towards a better future rather than maintaining hell. Like just working constantly to afford an apartment is hell to me. I'm not interested in that. I want to live a life of adventure, man. We only got one life. We're lucky we're here. We're lucky we're here at this time in history where we have so many options and possibilities and abundance and everything else. I want to take advantage of that and not, Let's see, I want to learn new skills. I want to explore new places. I want to slow down and get to know places and people. The first time I, was out in the Astro full time, I was go as fast as possible. I just couldn't get enough of seeing all these new places and exploring the country. And I've kind of been to every corner a couple times now and kind of gotten the gist. I'm at the point now where I want to slow down a little bit and get to know some places. And when you spend more time out in nature, you get to know the area more and you get more in tune with it. And I think that the animals kind of get used to you a little bit, and you're more likely to see, cool animals like mountain lions and bears and stuff. Let's see. I want to stay in the mystery, feeling like I'm kind of in the flow with life rather than stuck in a single dimension. And I've kind of already gone on about that, so I'll not go back into that. Also gone into the wage slave debt cycle. Yeah. And I could actually own a home and property this way. I can go out working seasonally, find an area that I really like. Unfortunately, the Pacific Northwest, I'm just not going to be able to afford land here, man. It's just too expensive. Unless something changes, it's just way too expensive. So here I drew a graph. I have an awesome, I think it was Christina Coloradoian, I don't know how to say that word right, was talking about the difference between comfort and freedom. It's always this versus that. So on this side, we've got the 9 to 5, a fixed home. You've got maximum comfort, the least amount of freedom. On this side, I've got living out of a backpack. That's not going to work for me either. I need some more comfort than that. So the 4Runner by itself is, pretty close to the backpacking. The Astro had a little bit more comfort because it had more height in the back. The Express had a little bit more than that. On this side, I'm giving myself away. 4Runner plus a trailer plus work camping. It's kind of right in the middle between the two. It seems like a good balance of freedom and security or comfort. And then the travel trailer, you've got more comfort, but much less freedom. I didn't really travel at all with I didn't travel at all with my travel trailer because it sucked driving that thing around. And yeah. So now we are getting in to the vehicles themselves. Thank you for bearing with me if you still are. I know we're at 20 minutes. This is going to be a long one. So let me get my list here, and I'm going to go through every vehicle that I looked at, which is most. We've got ambulance, different vans, pickup with a camper, off-road trailer, factory-made RV, cheap van, keep 4Runner. Let's start with that. Keeping the 4Runner. And these are all pros and cons list. I wrote down the pros and the cons. I researched every single one, got as many opinions as I can. I bounced them off my own personal experience. I bounced them off ideas of people I've met who have lived in these different vehicles and what I've learned from them. And keeping the 4Runner, here's the pros. Rock solid reliability. I've owned this thing for about 2 years now. All the maintenance is completely up to date. It is known to be a rock solid vehicle that is not going to give me any major problems, and I do not have to worry about that, which is a stark contrast to my Astro van that I had, that I literally replaced everything. The engine, the transmission, every sensor, the fuel injection system, all the valves, the suspension system, everything except for the computer, the ICU, that needed to be replaced too. So it's nice to have something I can just get in, turn on the key, and go, and I don't have to stress about that at all. Really, really nice thing to have, and I don't want to give it up. And I know how to fix it. I know this vehicle. I've done all the maintenance myself, other than some of the fluid changes and stuff. I know the vehicle. I know how to fix it. I have the tools to fix it. I have, there's a huge online community of people who know everything about them. It's very easy to figure out how to fix anything. And parts are very easy to get. They're a little more expensive than domestic vehicles, but you don't have to replace them nearly as much. So there's no surprises. It's already modded for me, you know, tinting the windows, getting a steering wheel cover, the floor mats. You know, if I was going to do the stereo, if the speakers were blown out or something, all the little things to make it mine are pretty much done, other than a new steering wheel. But all that little stuff adds up, and you can easily spend a couple grand doing that kind of stuff. So that's done, and it's exactly the way I want it, and I like it. I love it, actually. And it needs nothing. It's fun to drive on back roads, all these awesome country back roads I'm on. Very fun to drive. It's very easy to drive long distances on the highway without getting fatigued, where every van I've had, you know, you're constantly correcting the steering and everything's vague. You can't feel the steering wheel. The brakes are vague. It bounces around all over the place. It's just not a fun driving experience for me. Some people love that, love feeling like they're in a boat versus a vehicle. I would rather feel like I'm locked into the road and can feel everything. This is a killer weekend warrior for going out on weekend camping trips, or even a week or even a month-long trip. Killer vehicle. You can go anywhere. It's awesome. It's pretty good on gas. You know, I'm at 18 average right now. That's pretty good. And I just feel an emotional connection to it that I haven't had since the Astro, but that was a very love-hate thing. There were things I couldn't stand about it and things I loved about it. This thing, I pretty much love everything. So it's kind of the one. And it's awesome on back roads, and I'm on the beach right now. I can go wherever I want, and I don't have to worry about snow or ice or whatever. The cons are I'm in $19,000 debt, which are actually 17 now. That is pretty much any vehicle I get, I'm going to be in debt. We'll get more into that. In order for my plan to work, the plan I came up with, I'm going to need to tow a trailer if I keep this. So we'll get to that later. But I only have to, which towing full-time sucks. I did it with the Express and a big, I think it was a 16-foot cargo trailer. I hated it. It sucked. Going everywhere was just a pain. But because I'm working seasonally and I am at like a campground or some kind of place like that, I could just leave the trailer there and just go out on weekends in this by itself. So that can work. It's also not the best tow rig. It doesn't have the most power. It doesn't have the longest wheelbase, but it'll work. If I tow with this, it'll only be, you know, probably 3,000, 4,000 pounds. The tide is coming up. I better hurry up. Cheap van. You know, like a $5,000 van, which you know, I had in my mind that you could still get a good van for $5,000. Not true anymore. It's like 15, 20 now. For something under 150,000 miles, in good shape, not beat to hell, has really good maintenance history, you know, low owners, it hasn't been through like 10 different people, doesn't stink, you know, doesn't need a ton of work and stuff. It's like 15, 20 grand now to get a decent Express. And the newest ones have all kinds of problems, so... but the pros are, it would be faster to get on the road if I could find one for 5,000. Really, if I buy one for 5,000, it's gonna need a bunch of work, and the odds of it, you know, just needing tires and an oil change or something are very low. It's gonna need a lot more work than that, and it's gonna be unreliable, and I'm not gonna know if I got a lemon until I really drive it for a while. The Astro, when I bought it, the test drive, it drove great, no issues at all, and then, you know, 10 minutes after I got it off the lot, it starts running terribly, and the check engine light comes on, and of course I signed an as-is agreement when I bought it, and dealership said sorry, and that could totally happen again, which is really unfortunate. So the pros of this, let me get back to this. It'd be faster to get on the road because I wouldn't have the debt, you know, for $5,000. I wouldn't have to have full coverage, and I could kind of make it work for the seasonal work thing. It still doesn't have enough space, but I could make it work. And when I say cheap van, I'm talking about like a late 80s conversion van, maybe even a minivan, maybe a older Econoline, like a 90s Econoline or something. The cons are no guitar. I tried it in the van, doesn't work. It's going to be high maintenance. The off-roading I can do in this is gone. No dirt bike because it's going to be outside. I don't want a dirt bike outside. It's going to be unreliable. Society in general, or at least, you know, enough of them for it to matter, is going to lump me in with the homeless, drug-addicted people who they have problems with and in their eyes are undesirable. And that means I'm going to get hassled by the cops. I don't want to deal with that. It's still not going to be enough comfort, and I will end up burn out and spend a lot of time and money for nothing because I'm going to end up selling it because it's just not the right vehicle for me. And I'm a slave to the climate. Putting an AC and a diesel heater in one, plus all the other stuff I want to have, is just not going to work. Oh, you know what else needs to be on my need to have is a generator. I need to be able to charge my batteries up and have power even if I haven't had enough sun or whatever. And I'll still have limited jobs because a lot of the jobs I want require you to be fully self-contained. So a factory RV, a Class B, throwing a toy hauler on the back of this. Something. I'm going to restart this because the tide's coming up and I need to make sure I can get back out of here. Cutting it close. Cutting it really close. Look at this. This was so wide when I pulled out. I almost spent the night here. Okay, so back to the factory-made RV, Class B, you know, throwing a toy hauler back here kind of thing, which is really hard to find a really lightweight toy hauler. The pros are, depending on what you get, it can be less upfront cost, and the build is done. The thing is done. It's got the full systems. I could go get a seasonal job tomorrow, and that's a big plus. The cons are many, though. And that's another thing I learned by writing all this stuff down. It became really obvious what was the right way to go. When you start seeing, you know, all cons, mostly cons, all cons, it becomes really obvious. So let's go through the cons on the factory-made RV thing. Number one, they're poorly made. They're all lemons. They require constant maintenance. You have to really love your RV to own an RV. They're like a boat where they're just constant maintenance. And you're either going to be working all the time constantly to fix things, even a brand new one. That brand new one I had tons of problems. I was constantly fixing it. They also have outdated, complex systems. I don't want a, you know, forced propane furnace. I want a diesel heater because it's way more efficient. It's cheaper to operate. It takes up less space. It's less noisy, and it's just better, you know. And I don't want a big 10-gallon water heater. I want an instant propane water heater. Stuff like that. And they also most of them don't come set up properly for living off-grid. They're set up for spending a couple weekends out of the year at an RV park, not living off-grid. Now, there are some that come with, you know, solar panels and stuff, but they're just not made to live in full-time. They're also, the layout, I'm a single guy. Even when I was a single guy, or not a single guy, but a guy with a girlfriend and a dog, the thing was laid out for a whole family. It wasn't laid out for 1 or 2 people. So the layout is going to be a compromise. It's not going to be exactly what you want, but it's done. Let's see, if I did a toy hauler, they almost never have a sectioned off area for the motorcycle, so you're going to be breathing in those fumes 24/7 if you're living in it. They're designed to put the bikes outside when you're camping inside, and that's not going to work for me. They depreciate rapidly, they wear out rapidly, and they just don't feel nice. When I lived in my travel trailer, and I was in there for like 2 years, I think, maybe a year and a half, it just never felt like home. It always felt like I was at somebody else's house, or I was in an RV. And I think part of that is because it was already done, and I didn't put any of my own work or effort or creativity into it. It was somebody else's work that went into it, and it was obvious that it was in to make a profit. It wasn't to make it the best it could be. It was put together to make a profit. It just kind of felt that way. It never felt like home. Never felt like home. And the good ones are really expensive, and they're just all lemons, and they're heavy. And I don't like black tanks. It's another thing I don't like, black tanks. Give me a compost toilet, dude. So here's another one. Getting an off-road trailer for the 4Runner. An off-road trailer can mean a lot of things. That could be a little tiny teardrop, or even a little tiny trailer with a rooftop tent basically on it that has a bunch of little drawers and an outdoor kitchen and stuff. That could be a small travel trailer with high ground clearance that's a little tougher. That could mean, I don't know, probably a lot of things, but they're really expensive, for one. So let's go to the pros though. I'm going to have more space to store stuff inside the 4Runner, so if I had one of those and I slept in the 4Runner, I could lose the platform and put the bed flat on the ground and have a lot more space. I don't think that would really work though, because I still want to be able to go out on weekends when I'm working seasonally. It would be the second most capable off-road versus just the 4Runner by itself. So that would be cool, and the build is pretty much done if I bought one of those. The cons are, I haven't found one that has a place where you can store a dirt bike inside that's sectioned off. So you're going to be breathing the fumes and stuff, and it's just, no thanks. So pretty much no dirt bike, and I want a dirt bike. Almost all of them have outdoor kitchens. I really want an indoor kitchen. Sometimes it's pouring rain, sometimes it's snowing, sometimes it's 100 degrees out. I want to be able to cook indoors comfortably. They're expensive. They're really expensive. Anything off-roady or overlandy, the price goes up. They get really expensive, and I don't want to spend $40,000, $60,000 on a little trailer that I have to sleep inside of a tent on top, or a tiny little teardrop that has less room inside than this. They depreciate. Not as bad as normal RVs, but they do depreciate pretty fast. Still not enough space. Still not homely. It's still somebody else's design, though it's probably better made. And they have systems that I don't need, and the layout is not the ideal layout for me. It's a generic layout that probably works for most people versus exactly what I need for what I like to do and who I am. Next one is a good American van, Chevy Express or a Ford Econoline. You know, a newer one, about 100,000 miles, in really good shape, been well taken care of, has really good maintenance records, doesn't seem like it really needs anything other than customizing it to be for me. And that's with or without a high top. I really didn't like the high top. We had a Fiberine high top on our Express. They did a great job. The high top itself was nice. The work they did was great. No complaints there. But the way it drove after that was just awful. Just going around corners, it was, you know, you're leaning everywhere, and it was super bouncy, and I did not like it. So the pros of that are I wouldn't have to tow a trailer. I could fit everything in there except for the dirt bike. The dirt bike would have to be out. If I'm in a situation where I need to hop in the driver's seat and just get out, you know, whether that's somebody trying to break in or There was a situation when I was in California where I was in a parking lot and people were shooting guns. I got in the driver's seat and got the hell out. And there was another one at night where someone was trying to steal the dirt bike off the back of the van. Got in the driver's seat, got the hell out. Those were kind of traumatic situations, and being able to just get out of there made me feel so much better. If I was in a trailer and I had to get outside and go walk around, who knows? That guy that was shooting, he might have shot me. So that's kind of important to me. I should put that on my need to have list. It would be better off-road than most of the other options. You know, a full-size van, it could do just fine on most forest roads and desert roads. You get some good tires on there, maybe a little lift. You get some good recovery gear. You know, lock the rear end, get a selectable locker, or at least like a limited slip or something, and a winch, and you can go probably 90% of the places I can go in the 4Runner. It can be stealthy depending on how you lay it out. If you've got, you know, big solar panels and roof vents that are really obvious on the roof, and you've got travel stickers everywhere, and reflectix in the windows, not so much, but it can be better than an RV. And they're a little better to drive than most of the options that we'll get into. And it's simple, easy to fix, cheap to get parts for. Yeah. The cons are I'd be starting from scratch, both with the build out and mechanically. I don't know, even if I have good history, even if, you know, it's only had a couple owners or something and it seems like it's been well taken care of, in good shape, you never know what's going to come up. And it takes a while for me to get to learn to trust a vehicle after my situation with the Astro. So that's a thing. You could totally get a lemon. It's still too small for a dirt bike. It's still too small for all the stuff that I want to have to be fully self-contained. I could get a job, you know, set it up so I could get these jobs that I want to get, but I still wouldn't be as comfortable as I'd like to be. And they suck to drive. Once I got away from the vans and got into like a good SUV and cars and stuff, I'm like, why did I ever drive these vans? I don't like driving them. Some people love it. You know, I talked earlier about, you know, the tinting the windows, the putting a locker in the rear, getting good tires, getting, you know, the stereo, floor mats, little stuff. These little things that go between your seat belt and the center console, just little stuff like that. It all adds up, and that's already done with the 4Runner. I've already spent all the money on that, and a lot of the stuff with sponsorships too, which is really cool. And another pro is simple. American vans are simple. Some of the newer ones with the newer engines, not so much. But yeah, I'm actually supposed to be on the cons right now. Oh yeah, another one is I need to find a place to build out. Can't do it at my parents' house. I have one friend where I probably could, but it would take a long time and it would be a hassle for them, and I feel bad doing that. There are places where you can rent and they are affordable. I can't remember the name right now. They have places where you can park and build out your vehicle, and they have tools and they have people that can help you and stuff, and those are really cool. That would probably be my best option. So the next one is a Eurovan, Sprinter, Promaster, Transit, those types of vans. They're expensive. You're looking at like $50K plus for a good one with lower miles, well taken care of. I've seen used Amazon vans. You know, most of them are Transits. I think I saw some Promasters too for like 20 grand. Those are beat to hell, man. Those are driven so hard, and no way. That would be a nightmare. So the pros are they have a ton of space. They drive pretty well, especially for a giant van. I test drove a four-wheel drive Sprinter. It drove amazing for a giant van. I was really surprised, and it felt really nice inside. It was nice. It was nice to drive, and you're so up high and so over the road. It's really cool. The miles per gallon are great, especially for the size. Like, they do really well. You can get all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. That's a huge plus. And they can be very stealthy. And it definitely gets you away from the Karens who are like, oh, there's some strange vehicle parked in my neighborhood. Please come and arrest these people. Give them a cavity search. You know, when you have a nice vehicle that's clean and well taken care of, and you're not telling the world, hey, I live in my vehicle, I think people leave you alone for the most part. I don't even think cops would mess with you. So that's not, you know, stealth isn't really as much of a concern with those types of vans or the, you know, a newer 4Runner, newer vehicle. They're just really nice. The cons are, and there's a lot of cons too, and these are big cons. very expensive up front, very expensive to maintain. When I looked at that Sprinter van, you have to get your oil changes at the dealer, and they're like $600. If you change your own oil, you void your warranty. And that's absolutely insane to me. And they told me that oil changes were $600. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. It's crazy. It's like $50 for me to do it myself in my 4Runner. There's no way. There's no way. Oh, and a lot of these Mercedes dealerships, you have to wait. And not all of them work on Sprinters. And some of them, you have to wait like a month to get an oil change. It's crazy. I don't want to deal with that. They're not very well made. They're made to work perfect when they're brand new. They have issues, man. Issues that I don't want to deal with. The build out is very expensive. Anything specialty that's built for a Eurovan, especially Sprinters, is super, super expensive. The overlanding stuff is really expensive. Some of the specialty stuff for a 4Runner, but it's even worse for a Sprinter or a transit van. It's crazy. So they're not reliable. They're not great off-road. Yes, you can get all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, but at least on the West Coast, you know, if you're in the trees, those super tall vans, there's like no trails you can go down, and there's been so many forest roads I go down where I'm just barely clearing trees over the top of my 4Runner. It's like I could never take a high-top van through here, so it limits where you can go. Yeah, and they're hard to work on. You need, like, especially the Sprinters, you need like an expensive computer to be able to even scan the codes and stuff. They're not for me. If I was making $200,000 a year or even $100,000 and I was working remotely, that might be a different option. That might be good for that person. So here's another one: a pickup truck with a camper. I was thinking about, okay, well, maybe I could get like you know, get a Tacoma or a Tundra and throw a camper shell on the back, or get like a pop-up camper or something, or even a you know, like the more storage style campers that are not built out, and just build it myself. Pros are off-road ability, definitely. If I get a Toyota, reliability for sure. It's compact, no trailer needed. I could upgrade the truck separately from the camper, so like if the camper, I could get a cheap one to start with, you know, pay off the truck, fix the truck up, get it the way I want it, and then save up to buy a new camper and get a nicer camper. That's definitely an option that a lot of people really like, and you can still tow with that too. So that's a pretty cool option. The cons are you're pretty limited on space. The dirt bike is, you know, if you put it in the front, it blocks your headlights and airflow. If you put it in the back, it blocks the door. So there's a huge sacrifice that has to be made there, and some people have solved it in creative ways, but the ways I've seen require a bunch of custom fabrication and stuff. It sucks to drive a pickup with a camper on it. You're super top heavy, and you're not, you know, you're not cruising through the back roads like I do on this. I kind of drive this thing like a sports car on the back roads, like not quite, but it hauls, dude. This thing rails around corners. Is sweet. If you buy a camper that is, you know, an RV camper, it's got all those stupid RV systems, you know, the black tank and the propane stuff, and lack of good 12-volt setup. There's nowhere to put, you know, a 500 amp hour battery setup, and the RV quality, they're just junk. And yeah, so that's not for me. That is for some people. All of these are for some people, and if they're for you, then awesome. I'm just going over why some things would or would not work for me. The next one I looked at is an ambulance, dude. Ambulances are cool. The pros are they're super well made. You can get a 4-wheel drive ambulance with the Ford 7.3 turbo diesel, which is a rock solid engine, plenty of power, super insanely reliable. It would just be a rock solid platform to build out of. The cons, most of them I cannot stand up in. I'm only 5'8", but I always have my head tilted a little bit. That would drive me insane. And it's always, to me, it's always going to feel like you're in an ambulance. No matter how cool you make it, how you paint it, how you do everything, remove all the ambulance stuff from the inside, it always is going to feel like an ambulance. I don't want to, no thanks. And there's like no stealth. I guess you could dress it up like a traveling mechanic or something, but then people are going to think you have a bunch of tools inside and want to break in. They have super complicated electrical in the back, so you either have to navigate that or gut it and start over. Probably not fun to drive, and it's just not me. I'm just not an ambo guy. You know, I don't know how to make logical sense out of that. It just doesn't, it's just not me. So the next one is, and I'm going to lump three together, a box truck, a Skoolie, and a step van. Those are three like kind of fringe van life vehicles that can be super, super cool. Yeah, let's get them pros. It would have all the space I need for me. If I got a box truck, you know, I could build a little garage in the back that has a motorcycle, you know, separate from, walled off from everything else and vented to the outside and all that. Most of these you could just jump in the driver's seat, assuming a box truck has a pass-through. Cons, horrible to drive. Every one of them. None of them are going to be fun. I guess some people enjoy driving buses, but I don't. There's no way. Extremely limited off-roading, the super high, super long wheelbase stuff, not gonna work. I'm checking my battery, looks good. Very difficult and expensive to maintain and fix. The box truck, not so much if you get one that's built on like a van or pickup chassis. Those ones are going to be a lot easier, but school buses and step vans take industrial parts. You can't just go to AutoZone and buy, you know, a distributor or an air filter or whatever for it. You have to go through special commercial parts dealers, and if you have to have someone else work on it, you have to go to special mechanics. You can't just roll up to any mechanic and say, hey, can you flush my transmission or, you know, change out my alternator or whatever. So that means that you're going to have to spend a lot more time and money and mental resources trying to keep that thing on the road, and if it breaks down, it's going to be much more difficult to get it fixed. So that's something to think about, but they are unique and they are cool, and people who own them love them, and there's such a tight camaraderie between people who live in Skoolies and step vans and box trucks. And a big pro is, especially for the step van and the box truck, the sides are all totally flat, and usually the roof is too, so they're really easy to build out. Like most American vans, everything inside is curved, so it's hard to build out. So that's really cool. Let's see, what else we got? Bad miles per gallon on almost all of them, that's for sure. Insurance can be an issue. It can be a real issue. It's solvable. People have solved it, but it is something that could be an issue, you know. Also, there's a lot of unknown stuff. Like I brought up the parts. What about registration? How are you going to be able to register it in your state? Are you going to be able to find parts? You know, that kind of stuff. They're expensive to buy and expensive to build out because they have so much space. You're going to want to fill all that space with stuff. And yeah, and I kind of already talked about the limited off-road, and they're easy to roll over because they're really top-heavy, and the height prevents you from going through places where there's low-hanging trees. And yeah, that's pretty much that for that. That's just not for me. They're cool. I love them. I respect it. It's cool, but it's just not me. So here is why. And one of the first, so when I realized that this wasn't gonna work for me for what I want to do, my first thought was to get a trailer. And you know, for all the reasons I already talked about, a travel trailer is out. A factory-made cargo hauler is out. Just not an option for me. So what am I left with? A cargo trailer. And I didn't really want a cargo trailer. Let me tell you why. The first reason is all these back roads I go down, all these logging roads and desert roads and stuff, a lot of the times you run into a dead end and it's a single lane, very tight, very windy road, and backing up a trailer out of that is a nightmare. Sometimes it's miles of just literally nowhere to turn around. So I'd have to back up miles down tight, twisty roads, sometimes on the side of a cliff. It's just not, I would have to give up, you know, what I like to do out in the back roads, exploring logger roads and stuff, unless I had a dirt bike and could scout first. So that solves that. That's something I didn't really think about until fairly recently. I also had assumed that the 4Runner was terrible at towing due to a couple of things I saw on forums, and just it seems like, okay, it's not the strongest most powerful engine in the world. It's a short wheelbase. This probably isn't the best towing rig ever. And I did more research on it, and there's plenty of people who tow with these, and as long as you keep it under, like, 4,000 pounds or so, which if I had a cargo trailer, it would end up, my goal would be 3,000 pounds. It'll do just fine. It's not going to be great. I'm going to have to slow down for sure, but it'll be just fine. I just need to make a couple mods, put a transmission cooler, brake controller, stuff like that. Do something with the rear suspension. And the other thing is expensive. I owe, $17,000 on this. By the time I buy a good cargo trailer, because the last cargo trailer I bought was a POS. It was just a piece of junk, and it was falling apart before I even got it. And I wish I had done more research. I kind of just went and bought the first one I saw because we needed one, and I didn't think there would be that much difference between them. I want to get a good one. So the trailer I want to get is like probably $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, brand new. And used ones they don't lose their value much. So for only like $1,000 more, you can get a brand new one with no miles on it and get it spec'd the way you want and everything. So that makes more sense to me. After I build it out the way I want, it's probably going to end up costing about 15 grand. Once it's insulated, and I've got the water tanks, and it's built nicely, not like super fancy, but it's nice, and it's going to last a long time and be reliable and be lightweight and well balanced and everything else. So it's a fairly expensive option. It's going to cost about 15 grand, but if I can get this paid off first, then I don't mind going in debt for that, because that's a home. When you compare that to the cost of a house or even a condo, like a condo around here, like in an area where I'd want to live, is like $400,000. So when you compare it to that, and I've got all the benefits of, all the reasons why I listed that I want to live on the road and work seasonally, it's a freaking bargain. It's an absolute bargain. So I don't mind spending that much money. Yeah, so that's where we're at with that. Okay, so now we're on to the pros and cons of the 4Runner with a trailer. The pros are, and it's probably going to end up costing me at the end of the day about $30,000, maybe $40,000, which when you compare that to a newer RV that's pre-built, that's a pretty darn good deal. And I have a setup with a dirt bike that's very capable. I can go pretty much anywhere I want. I can work seasonally. I can go spend 14 days maxing out my time in dispersed camping areas, stuff like that. That's pretty bitchin', dude. So let's get on to, and look at this. Remember how all the other ones, there was less pros than there were cons. And this one, these are the cons. These are the extended pros. This is all the pros, and I had to start writing sideways, and I had to add this area over here for the pros. And the cons is only that big. So at first, I completely dismissed this whole idea because I didn't want to have a trailer. And once I actually wrote this stuff out, it made so much sense. So let's get into the pros. Parts and systems transferable. By that, I mean everything that I build, I have my fridge, I have my solar system, I have my Bluetti, I have, all kinds of stuff in here. If I get a different vehicle in the future, I can move all that stuff to the new vehicle, where an RV, it's kind of built into the RV and it stays there because it's part of it. Another thing with the trailer is I can insulate it really well. So when it's cold out, I don't have to worry about it. When it's hot out, I don't have to worry about it. I can have AC and heat. I will have the most comfort because it's going to be so well insulated and built just the way I want. And I can pick out every component and make it just right for me. It's the most comfortable of all options. And when I sleep in cities, if I'm just passing through a town on my way to go somewhere, I talked about being able to hop in the driver's seat. This stays as is, so that when I'm working, I can go weekend camping, and if I'm just passing through town, I'll just sleep in here and leave the trailer locked. That way, if someone tries to break into my trailer, I'll have a security system, and I'll just hop in the seat and drive off and forget about it. So that is rad. So it's the only option that meets all my needs. Every other option that I listed, I would have had to have, not met some of the needs I had in one of those first lists. I can build an inside area, I can section off the back where I can store my dirt bike. I can store extra fuel and chemicals and stuff that I need for guitar repair and vehicle maintenance and stuff. I can store it back there, vent it to the outside and have it sectioned off, and build like a fold down workbench, be able to work on guitars. So I can get most of my wants as well. That's really cool. I could take my time building it out. I could finish building this out, and instead of trying to build out the 4Runner for 14 days and then losing all my comfort, I can just build this out to stay in for 3 or 4 days before I have to go to town and refill on food and gas and water and stuff. So that takes the edge off of this. It makes the 4Runner an even better vehicle. It'll take me time to build the thing out, and in that time I can get sponsors with my YouTube channel to help me out with the cost of building that thing out and help out the company at the same time. Let's see. When I do get my land, I can use the trailer to live on at first while I build a cabin or whatever type of housing situation I get set up there. I can live in the trailer temporarily, and I can I can build the inside livable area in such a way that it's easily removable, like detachable, and then I can use the trailer to haul supplies for my homestead. So it'll be a valuable tool later on, even when I'm not living in it full time. And then I'll probably just take this thing out on like week and month-long trips. It's the lowest maintenance of anything because cargo trailers are like almost no maintenance, and the systems I pick out are going to be almost no maintenance. The 4Runner is almost no maintenance. Boom, there we go. And it doesn't need frequent or expensive maintenance. So what are the cons? Number one, it's pretty expensive compared to, you know, just buying a cheap minivan and hitting the road. I already did that. I wasn't comfortable. There were many days I was miserable, way too hot. I didn't have the stuff I wanted. I couldn't do the stuff I wanted to do. And living on the road in my Astro was the greatest thing I've ever done so far, but I'm trying to create something better. I'm going to have to tow part-time. Towing sucks, but I'm only going to have to do it part-time. You know, when I'm working, once I get off work, if I need to go into town to get groceries or whatever during the week, I can just do that. It's not a big deal. I don't have to take the trailer with me. I can go out on little weekend trips. Some of these seasonal jobs are, you know, 4 days, 3 or 4 day work weeks, and then the rest of the time I could be out in this, leave the trailer behind, and kind of have 2 different setups for 2 different situations. So that's pretty rad. I have to build out the trailer. It's not done for me. That's got its pros and cons. I think it's well worth it. And the other thing is there's no RVIA certification. I don't think that's a big deal. Some of these RV parks that you go to want you to have that certification. I think I'm just going to have a sticker printed out on Fiverr and stick it on the side in case anyone asks if it's certified, and just stick it there and not say anything. If you have a clean, nice rig and you're not causing problems, I don't think it's an issue. So that is something that some people brought up when looking into seasonal work, though. So after that, I pretty much made up. Once I saw that list with you know, I needed an extra page basically for all the pros. There are hardly any cons. I just wrote exactly what I want to do, how I want to live my life, what it's going to look like, and just wrote down a vision and just went nuts and just wrote it all out by hand. And something about writing it by hand just locks it in. So then I wrote a list of, okay, so I'm going to focus on getting the 4Runner ready to tow a trailer. It's going to be done for my weekend camping trips and everything, and that's that. So I made a list of things I needed to do to the 4Runner to get it ready for that next step of having the trailer. And yeah, none of these are super important to this video, so I'm going to leave that out because I don't think that's going to help anybody. And then I did a list of brainstorming, you know, what size do I need? What kind of things do I want? I want a couch that's also a bed. I think a Murphy bed would be a great idea. I want a compost toilet with urine diversion. I want a diesel heater and a fireplace. I want it to be very secure. People love to break into cargo trailers and steal stuff. I want it to be very secure. A non-fixed shower. I don't want like a walk-in shower. It's just total waste of space in a small, tiny space like that. I want at least 30 gallons of fresh water that's filtered, and I want to be able to pump water out of rivers and lakes. I want an instant hot water heater for doing dishes, washing hands, taking a bath, stuff like that, washing stuff. I want 800 watts of solar. I want that garage in the back for the dirt bike. I want a generator so I can charge stuff up if it's dark for 6 months at a time like it is in Oregon. Or something happens to my solar or something. And just to charge things that are, power things that are more powerful. Some of this stuff's never going to happen, like a pressure washer. I don't need a pressure washer, but it'd be nice to have. It's good to just write it down. If it comes up, just write it down. Figure it out later. I definitely want, and I want the back, the back's going to be a ramp door that comes down. I want an awning that goes over that and a bug net that goes around it, so I have a nice big outdoor porch where I can hang out and have a little propane fireplace and chill out at night. And even like, I don't know, the vision popped into my head that I could back it up like over a cliff and set that thing down over a cliff and be like hovering over a cliff. It'd be so cool. I want a desk where I can set up my studio monitors and record music and play music and stuff and be able to store my guitars and basses. I want to be able to fully hook it up to a RV park. I want air conditioner. I want it to be off-road ready, not like super hardcore wheeling, but forest roads, desert roads, stuff like that. So it's going to have to be a little bit higher off the ground. Torsion axles seem like the best idea, decent tires, stuff like that. It's got to have stabilizer jacks to be nice and stable when it's not hooked up. And that's that. So, and then I kept going, and I went on another page. What else do I got on here? Oh, I want to use cedar. I want the inside lined with cedar. I want the smell and the look of cedar, and make it use a lot of like flat black and browns and rich reds and copper and like live edge countertop that's got a lot of rich reds and blacks and some lighter colors in there. I want a tank for diesel, for the diesel heater, so I don't have to run to town every few days to get diesel. I want access to the roof from the inside, one, as an escape in case there's like a fire or a bear or a burglar or something like that. But I also want to be able to chill up there and have like a cool spot to hang out. Have like a porch up there. Yeah, I think a mini split would be the way to go. Have AC, a heater, and dehumidifier for when I'm plugged in, or I could hook that up to a generator. It's been super humid out here, and it's nice to have a dehumidifier. I'd love to have that. And then I made a list of figuring out which dirt bike was the right dirt bike for me. So the more detail you go into about this stuff and the more you figure it out, the better, man. Like, writing this stuff down is such a big difference from actually just like thinking it for me. I don't know. Other people's brains are different, but I wrote a list of electric versus gas-powered dirt bike and ended up with gas-powered, and I think I'm probably going to be going for a KDX 200, by the way. I did some brainstorming on the layout for the trailer and got kind of started with that. This is the back area, and so I'd have this walled off and have a door so I could store the dirt bike in here, have like a fold-down workbench, store all my tools and stuff. Up here, there'd be a Murphy bed that is a couch, and then you fold it down and it's a bed. I got a bunch of storage. I got the kitchen countertop here. I'm gonna get a V-nose, and that is pretty much that. And then finally, how can I make this dream real? How can I make this happen? And this is more of a brainstorm. It depends on what jobs I can find. For now, I'm trying to just find a part-time job on the Oregon coast to spend the summer working, and when I'm not working, go on adventures. And keep the YouTube channel alive. I'm just trying to keep it alive at this point. It's, yeah. If I could find something that's like 4 days a week, that'd be ideal, like 4/10s, so I have 3 days off to do that. That'd be ideal, but it's hard to find jobs that are 4/10s, at least around here. So, yeah, try to work 4 days a week and finish building out the 4Runner, paying it off, saving up a little bit so that in the winter, I'm not going to spend another winter here. It is just liquid depression falling from the sky at all times. And I need some sunshine, man. I need some sunshine. So next winter, I'm going to be in Arizona or somewhere in the Southwest, but I really think Arizona. I've been wanting to go there for years now. So I'm going to spend this time, finish up the 4Runner, keep working on the channel, keep paying this thing off, paying bills down, this and that. And yeah, I'm going to hold off on the dirt bike for now, as much as I'd love to have one. It just doesn't seem like a smart move. And start picking out a trailer and working on that and seeing if I can line up a seasonal job that doesn't require the trailer for fall. So hopefully it'll be closer to Arizona or in Arizona. But the whole idea is to finish building the 4Runner. I don't have to pay it off all the way, but I at least need to pay pay it off more, get it down to like under 10,000, and then refinance it so I have a lower monthly payment. Took the loan out on it when interest rates were much higher than they are now. So refinancing it will help a lot. And if I can hold down a job for a little while, then the bank will refinance it for me. So there's that. And then I can get the trailer and start building it out. And there are some jobs, seasonal jobs I can do living in this thing. It's just gonna suck. But you gotta do stuff that sucks to get the stuff that you want sometimes. So that's life. All right. I hope that helps some people. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.